Flames lose. Thanks for joining Afterburner. Presentation about
accurate.
6-5. Yeah, just get it out of the way. Flames lose. Presentation about 365. Whatever your bet, it is never ordinary. Bet 365. Download the app and get in the game. Use the code NATION. We'll add to that. Flames lose 6-1 to the Dallas Stars on this Tuesday, March the 3rd. Mike Gould with Kent Wilson. It was really close. It's really close until it wasn't at the Scotiabank Saddledome with
that's true.
A whole host of high-profile figures in attendance, such as the commissioner of the NHL, the deputy commissioner of the NHL, the mayor of Calgary, the principal owner and chairman of the Calgary Flames, among others, all at the Saddledome on this Tuesday, March the 3rd.
Humdinger.
They sure did.
Live. Yeah.
It was a night where tickets were available. Good tickets were available up until puck drop and probably thereafter. And the Tuesday crowd saw the Flames lose 6-1. And you know what? By the end of the night, most of them were gone. Most of them were gone by the end of this game, as they probably should have been. And yes, Rebiggle, Ryan Pinder was there. He was there at the game. He saw it too. Ryan Pinder was there. Our buddy Bobby Germany was at the game. There were a lot of people, a lot of dignitaries, a lot of important folks who took it tonight's
long Tuesday night, honestly.
You know who didn't catch tonight's game at the Saddledome but watched it on TV and are here to talk about it? Are Mike Gould and Kent Wilson right here with you on the Afterburner. Here we are. And if you want to talk about it with us, maybe a little bit more involved than just being in the chat, you can do that through the Afterburner Super Chat. Proceeds from which go to the Youth Centers of Calgary, a place where kids are welcomed and accepted as they are, a place where they can get a break from the chronic stress that is the reality for many of their lives, and where they can flourish through connections and fun. Kent, 6-1 loss. And it's funny that it ended up this way because the Flames have played much worse this season than they played tonight. Kind of a game where it just got away from them, a game where for a variety of minute reasons, different bounces, what have you, just ended up falling apart for them, especially in the second period. Not a lot to discuss, though, I don't think, really, out of this game.
No, I was actually pretty pleased with the game fundamentally. No, like if I was judging as the coach, I would have been fine with the way they performed in the first period. They were down by 1, but it could have been a coin flip. I thought they were right there with Dallas, and then bing, bing, bing. Some bounces go in the second, and then the air comes out of the tires. It's pretty much over, right? So,
tale of two defensemen, I think, for the Calgary Flames tonight. We can sort of compare and contrast when we talk about maybe one of the older defensemen on the roster and the youngest. Let's start with the young guy. Zayne, I think, looked quite comfortable tonight amidst sort of a rapidly deteriorating game. He managed to hold his composure relatively well, I thought. Looked dangerous. By the time that they got to the end of the third period and they actually put him on the top power play unit, where he probably should have played the whole game, he and Matt Gridden were really slinging the puck along, and it was nice to see it. Just sort of your thoughts on Zayne Parek's comfort level against Dallas tonight.
Yeah, you started noticing him for all of his strengths rather than any of his weaknesses. I thought his third period was a little worse than his first and second, but then the entire team was pretty much out of it by that point too. But you're right, and you could see him headmanning the puck with confidence. He was making plays at the blue line here and there. He started looking more like the Zayne Parek we saw in the World Juniors than the Zayne Parek we saw in the first 10 games of the NHL season. So, and that's what we want to see more of, down the stretch here. I wrote for the newsletter that I write for Post Media recently that, one of the big questions for the Flames down the stretch is how comfortable is Zayne Parek going to look? He doesn't have to look like a difference maker at all, the last 20 games of the season, but you want him to look like he's comfortable, at least at the NHL level. And this was probably a good step forward.
I would definitely stand to agree with that. The Flames ended up being outshot 35-21 tonight, which, I mean, a lot of that boiled down to the second and third period. It was relatively close in the early stages of this game. And I don't think it's really any secret that Mackenzie Weegar had just a terrible night. Maybe his worst night of the season, and there's been a lot of competition for that. Just sort of struggling to make simple plays.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one sequence in the second that led to, I believe, it was the 4-1 goal. Maybe one of the worst individual sequences I've seen from a Flames player this year. And yeah, it hasn't been a great year, obviously. So there's a lot of competition, but blows like 3 plays in a row leading to the goal against. And
here's him getting danced around by Duchesne. Oof.
And that was the third mistake he made on that.
That was probably the least egregious mistake. And even, I mean, Rudy pointed this out on the
you have Duchesne come down, dance around him, and put the game out of reach. So yeah, that was an absolute stinker. And that wasn't even the only bad shift he had.
No.
I think a few shifts later, they finally get a power play. He makes a bad pinch and has to trip. I think Sam Steele to stop a breakaway, and he kills the power play. So there's, this is one he'll want to forget.
Yeah, the NHL's giveaway category certainly certainly an imprecise metric, but he was credited with 4 of them tonight, which is kind of hard to do. They don't often attribute giveaways.
Yeah, they're stingy with those.
They are. So yeah, he had a really rough night. RB continues in his crusade against Mackenzie Weegar in the Superchats. Weegar, to his, RB's correct. I mean, he's down to -35 on the year. Mike, watch Weegar's giveaways, multiple before the 3rd goal. The 4th goal was even worse. -35 could also be his hockey IQ. Green Jacket Trade Weegar. Holy smokes. Look, you're not wrong about what you just said. You're not wrong. I mean, the hockey IQ thing's a bit of a shot, which fine, you're allowed to take shots. I'm not a Mackenzie Weegar disciple by any means. I think he is a flawed player. I think he's a very good player when he's playing at his best. But we haven't seen it at all this season, unfortunately. I
think the question for the Flames this year, heading especially at the trade deadline, was Mackenzie Weegar a very good player? Does he rebound next year after this absolute horrendous nightmare of a season? Or is this a step towards a permanent decline, which is
tough one.
The risk of keeping him around, right? Because I would imagine there's still some interest in the player. This can be discarded as a one-off
explained
away. If there's 2 in a row, that becomes a tough asset to move, I think.
You're kind of looking sort of at a couple different case studies. The one is Rasmus Andersson, who, I mean, has not had a very good run with Vegas since being acquired. I think there's a lot of factors at play there, but certainly looked a lot stronger in Calgary this year after a very similar season last year to the one that Mackenzie Weegar's having right now. And it's easy to forget just how horrible Rasmus Andersson looked for a lot of last season.
Yeah.
And the other example you can sort of point at is Marc-Edouard Vlasic, who around this time in his career, after being regarded as a darling player, an underrated player for so long, was so underappreciated, then finally gets named to the Olympic team. And then basically the moment after that starts to fall off a cliff.
It was over. Yeah.
And it was over. It really was over, to the point that San Jose had to buy him out. So, I mean, it's a decision that Conroy and their group will have to make at some point here about how exactly they want to play it going forward with Mac. The nice thing is that his cap hit is not completely unmanageable, but it's also not, ideal if he plays this poorly.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, he's a player who plays with passion, and he's a player who plays best in high leverage situations, I find. And I just the more recent comparable as far as a player looking a little bit stronger once he gets out of a certain environment is Seth Jones, where he goes from Chicago to Florida. Now, Seth Jones is not the same player today that he was when he was in Columbus. And I don't even think he's the same player who earned that big contract in Chicago to begin with. But you just saw the change in effort and the change in just overall just overall presence once he got out of a certain environment. So I'm curious. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I don't know if anything's going to happen this week, but it's hard to say. But hey, I thank you, RB. Gosh, you got a lot of money. You got a lot of money to dedicate to putting towards Mackenzie Weegar. Another $6.99 Weegar. not just having a bad year. He's 32 and declining. If they don't trade him now, he will be a buyout candidate. Make him a healthy scratch. Coach GPT. I mean, again, we host.
It's possible.
This is show number 60 of 82 this year on the Afterburner. Okay. Show number 60. We got 22 of these left to do.
Yeah.
And if we want to spend, we're 11 minutes into this show. These shows typically 30 to 45 minutes long after losses. And we only have so many minutes to devote to Mackenzie Weegar. I mean, if it was up to me, we'd be talking about all sorts of different things. And Mackenzie Weegar is just one piece of a little puzzle that we are putting together on this program. But I appreciate the Mackenzie Weegar discussion, and I think it is a very valid point of conversation. There are other points of conversation that I also want to talk about, though, as it pertains to the Calgary Flames. They did score a goal in this game. They scored exactly one goal.
They got one. Yeah.
And it was actually a pretty nice goal. Morgan Frost tipping in a 3-foot in the air pass by. Just looking at this comment. Don't minimize it, says RB. Oh my God. No, that 3 foot off the ice pass. Nope.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any chance. Yeah. They score, they score 2 goals every game, or no, let me rephrase. They score 3 goals for every 2 games they play. Basically, at this point. Like, it's what are we going to do?
But on the other hand, I thought Blake Coleman was one of the guys that had a pretty good game. And
last game as a Flame.
If people are scouting him, they should be pretty impressed by that. As he's had a pretty good season overall. So yeah, could be his last game.
The chat is just on one tonight. Like there is crazy stuff going on. William Holden 7356 saying Mike Gould is the man. I appreciate that. Mr. Public Pain says, talk about Wolf being 70% hype and 30% under 4 goals against. Talk about Wolf, and then it gets a little explicit. He starts talking about, just inappropriate things. But I mean, I didn't really think this was on Wolf at all tonight.
He had 2 pretty good games before this one too.
I mean, I guess there was the one goal by Ben.
There was the one goal that he definitely would want back.
The Ben goal, second goal.
But there was 2 random deflections in front of him, and then the Weegar disaster leading to a 2-on-1 down low. Yeah. And then 2 goals being on Cooley after that. So
this is one. Matt C talking about how Coronato had 10 goals already on December 10th.
Yeah.
And then Rantanen smashed his face in season end. I mean, isn't that just an eye-opening number? Holy smokes.
Well, and a lot of guys have had, even the top scorers on the team have had long dry spells. I mean, Kadri between December 7th and February 1st was
he's probably scored 4 goals in the last 3 months.
Ice cold too, so it's kind of Frost has done it, Farabee has done it, Zary had his first 2 months. Like it's kind of gone around the roster, quite frankly. It's it is what it is for this team.
Flames have Coronato with 14 goals. Coleman, Farabee, Frost, and Backlund now have 13 each. And Sharangovich and Kadri have 12. Kadri has 10, Zary has 10. And then the 2 guys who aren't even playing anymore, Huberdeau and Anderson, both have 10. It's one of the weirdest years for offense for this Flames team that I can ever remember. I mean, we were talking about it on the show the other night. I think it was Pike and I saying, I mean, you have to go back a long way to find a full season where the Flames did not have a 20-goal score. I mean, we were talking about like the pandemic season, the 56-game season where they had like Gaudreau and Lindholm with 19 goals each. And that was their top score, but that was in a pandemic season. And we're already past 56 games this year, and they don't have anybody who has 15. Like this is mid 2010s Florida Panthers territory.
Yeah, I actually tried to look this up the other day because I was going back. I was like, when's the last time they didn't have like a 50-point getter too? Right? And
It's basically only shortened seasons. Like it's the lockout years. Like they had the year that Lee Stempniak led them in scoring, but he had like 30 points in 40 games. Okay, that's not bad. And like this year, we're talking about guys who are on pace for 45 points. We're talking like this year. It's like the Flames are the Canadian dollar. And to any other team, you have to project where a guy stands on this team compared to where he'd be on another team. You have to multiply it by 130.
Yeah.
It's like, or by 1.3. You know, like to be a 20 goal scorer on these Flames, you have to score 13. Like it's the weirdest. It is the weirdest year. It's one of the weirdest.
And they are not last in the league. It's kind of impressive.
They aren't. We will get to that, but there is a lot to unpack with the bottom of the standings right now, and there was some favorable stuff on the out of town. I mean, RB really wants us to talk about the third Dallas goal, Jack. So if you have that one, I mean, we might as well just dig into it. While Jack pulls it up, I mean, they did pull Dustin Wolf for Devin Cooley in this game. Devin Cooley wore 2 different sets of pads in this game. He made some nice talk about. He's had a bad year. He is a good player who has had a bad year. Lots of good players have bad years. Lots of good players have a bad year, and then they really start to decline after that bad year. And it's really the thing we all have to discuss. I mean, really, what else are we going to say about it?
What's more interesting is what would you trade Weegar for? Like what would trigger you to say yes if someone came to you and said, I want Mackenzie Weegar?
I mean, first round pick, really. I mean, get a first round pick. If you can get a first round pick, great. I think there future considerations. I think this is opportunity cost. You know, you don't want to be the Toronto Maple Leafs with Larry Murphy, where you give him away for future considerations and watch him go win Stanley Cups in Detroit. Like you want to be a little bit more pragmatic about this, I think, rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater in the midst of a season where a bunch of guys are having their worst years of their careers. I mean,
yeah. So the question is, are you selling low? Like, are you waiting for his value basically to bottom out? And then, but is this an asset that is going to rebound? Is the other question, because if he doesn't, then the value there is none, right?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, and it's not an easy. Like it's really not easy. I don't think it's a deal that makes a lot of sense to make right now. Regardless, I think it's a deal that makes a lot of sense to discuss in the summer. There have been lots of players who have been theoretically distressed assets and have ended up being moved for something tangible around the draft. I think of Pierre-Luc Dubois going from LA to Washington. And I mean, the problem is, here's the problem, is that usually when there is a player like Mac Weegar who is on a contract like this and he gets traded, teams will usually try to sort of reallocate a problem towards a different problem, like trying to take on somebody else's problem that is maybe going to help them more than the guy who they already have. So like when the Kings were able to dump Dubois, they got Darcy Kemper back. And the Capitals didn't really have much room for Darcy Kemper at that point, and the Kings didn't really have much room for Pierre-Luc Dubois. So both teams were sort of able to achieve an objective, to address a problem. The Flames don't have anything like that to do. Like if you're going to look at Weegar that way, where if you're afraid of selling at a bad point or whatever, or if you're afraid of not getting commensurate value and you want to address something that way, I just think you're going to have a tough time coming out ahead if you move him at this point. I think it's a really inopportune time to do it. So I don't know. I mean, I think I had a buddy text me during the game, and he said to me that Weegar looks like a guy who knows he's about to be the last guy standing on this island. You know, he looks like a guy who knows that since he's come to Calgary, there have been 10 veterans who have been traded, and there's about to be like a half dozen more. And what am I going to do here? That's kind of what it looks like to me. Is like the mistakes that Mackenzie Weegar made tonight, and there were a lot of them. To me, were all mental. They were all just like, this guy is completely lost in his own head, throwing the puck away. I mean, he was just chucking it away, not even sort of haphazardly. And that to me is not a decline related item. When you're not even under pressure, it's just a lack of focus. And I don't know. I don't know what rectifies that. So
yeah, maybe if he isn't declining, will he get better in Calgary anyways?
So. I don't know. It's a tough one to discuss. And unfortunately for Mackenzie Weegar, there are a lot of problems in Calgary to maybe take the heat off of him at some point in the future. We shall see. But it's certainly a worthwhile discussion topic to dive into. And I'm certain we will as the season goes on. If there's one thing I know, it's that Arby would love to find Mackenzie Weegar a new home somewhere else. And if that does eventually come to pass, I'm sure he'll go through Derek Newman, because the Derek Newman Group is the #1 spot for buying or selling a house, condo, townhome, or duplex in Calgary. That's DERRICK, with over 100 million in real estate sold, 65 plus 5-star Google reviews. Clients stay with Derek with 90% of their business done through referrals and repeat business. So visit his website, dereknewmangroup.com. That is DERRICK, newmangroup.com, or call him at 403-619-6661. Kent, I don't think Mackenzie Weegar is going to be traded between now and Friday. We saw a couple interesting moves happen in the NHL today. We saw one yesterday as well. We haven't had you on, so we gotta pick your brain about this, because we've seen 3 trades, 3, I think, consequential moves the last couple of days. The one yesterday, Edmonton making the move for Connor Murphy, giving up a 2nd-round pick. All sorts of picks in 2028 being moved for whatever reason. 2028 2nd-round pick to Chicago for Connor Murphy, sort of filling in the void left by Brett Kulak to a certain extent, although Murphy is a natural righty. Although he doesn't have any playoff experience in his entire career. His only playoff experience was with Chicago in the bubble back in 2020. That's it. So that was the big move yesterday. And then today, the Nashville Predators selling off a couple of depth pieces. And it was kind of a funny little turn of events, as we saw Michael McCarron, a 1st-round pick from 13 years ago with 33 career NHL goals, traded for a 2nd-round pick. It's not often you see a guy traded for a pick in a draft 15 years after he is drafted. But that's exactly what's happening with Michael McCarron, who gets traded for another 28 2nd-round pick today. And then the Predators also trading Cole Smith to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for defenseman Chris Seedoff, who was actually a Flames development camp invite a few years ago, and a 3rd-round pick, in 2028. So 3 2028 picks on the move. And we've heard a lot about it being a buyer's market, but these 3 deals to me strike me as the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Edmonton Oilers are desperate, though. So on that end,
true.
It's probably the kind of player they need, but it's probably not enough either.
Connor Murphy has barely averaged 16.5 minutes this year.
Yeah, it's kind of bubblegum on the crack of the dam. I mean, you do have to fill that crack, but the gum's not going to do it. But, they're kind of at the stage where do what you can and see if it helps. But yeah, gladly, I don't think that's going to do much for them. The other guys, you're right, are replacement level players. They're big bodies, especially McCarron. Obviously, he can win a face-off, and that's probably what Guerin's looking for. So every so often, you get at any trade deadline, you get a GM who's looking for element 1, 2, 3. He finds it. He gives up whatever he can. I mean, Rito Berra back in the day.
Yes.
A pick from, I think, Colorado. It was like, what?
Hunter Smith pick.
Oh, God. Yeah, they wasted that, unfortunately. But you see, the trade deadline, whether it be a buyer or seller market, you see these sort of middle level deals. It's a scout in an organization or a GM liked a guy at some point, and he comes up and it's just like, yeah, throw a mid pick at him. So I don't think we'll really know what the temperature of this trade deadline is until the day at this point.
Sure feels like if any sort of result from today would be an impetus for any deals to come in the next 24, 48 hours, it's a 6-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. I mean, not that it's going to really change a whole lot, but by the same token, we're also looking at a pretty decisive result. And if Conroy is on the fence, even to the slightest degree, about a move for Coleman or Kadri, you just wonder. But also, they have lots more pieces. And if, granted, Ryan Lomberg has about a foot less height to his credit than Michael McCarron, but he has one more Stanley Cup ring. And I just wonder. I really wonder what the next 48 hours hold for a player of that pedigree. And for a couple of defensemen who we've seen in the last few games. I would love to see Joel Hanley get a chance to play on a contending team. I think he has really earned that right in his career, where he's played for 5 different teams despite never being traded once. Has gone from waivers to UFA to the minors to back, and now he's finally an NHL regular at age 34 or whatever he is. So that would be kind of cool. But again, we're not prognosticators. We don't have anything that we can say that we aren't telling you. It's just a matter of how exactly the market shakes out. And I suppose we shall see. Is there anyone on this Flames roster who you think might be surprising, as far as maybe between now and Friday, we hear something about a team maybe taking a run at them in a trade, or maybe being interested?
Yeah, I could see people asking about Pospisil, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Even with his, extensive injury issues, he is the type of guy, when he's healthy, that people love to have in the playoffs in a depth role, right? He can cause havoc. He's a fast skater. He's mean. He can get along the boards. He can get under people's skin. And I'm sure they'll call the Flames and, see if there's anything. Nobody's going to offer you a first-round pick or a grade A prospect or anything, but they'll see if he's available.
I feel the same about Klapka. I wonder if maybe we'll hear something about, I don't know about the Flames being that keen on moving him, but just seeing teams saying, we'd love to get that guy.
People are looking for big bodies, apparently.
Yeah,
so he's one of those.
Yeah, I could just hear it in my head about, reports coming out that a number of teams are trying to pry Klapka out of Calgary. I mean, hard to say, but made a nice little play on that first goal tonight, the only goal tonight for the Calgary Flames. Well, while we're on the subject, let's take a look at the road ahead. Brought to you by the good folks over at Platinum Mitsubishi, 2720 Barlow Trail Northeast. It's a good spot. They just got in the 2026 Outlander PHEV with 18% more battery life, a little bit more horsepower, a little bit quieter cabin. It's one of the best sellers in its segment. In fact, it's been the best-selling plug-in hybrid SUV the last 3 years running. So head on up to 2720 Barlow Trail for the 10-year powertrain warranty on every new Mitsubishi model. And the Calgary Flames, one more game until the trade deadline, and it is on Thursday. The Ottawa Senators come to town. The Sens, fresh off a come-from-behind loss to the Edmonton Oilers this evening. The Oilers beating them in overtime. The Sens led 4-2. They lose in the extra frame. So maybe they'll have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. The deadline is on Friday, and then after that, the Flames play host to the Carolina Hurricanes on March the 7th. These next 2 games, the Flames will be wearing their Blasty jerseys. Unconfirmed at this point, but it might be the last time we see them wear the Blasty jerseys for a few years. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I have it on a decent authority. The Blasty jerseys might not be back next year.
Good riddance.
You don't like them, eh?
No, I've never liked them. I know a lot of people do, but
I think they're fun. I think they break it up a little bit. They break it up a little bit. It's okay. The Black Sea's coming back, so you can take solace in that.
There you go.
It is better in my opinion. So yeah, the Flames wrap up their quote unquote dark mode this week at home. We actually got to see a few guys wear the Blasties for the first time tonight. Zayne Parekh, Zach Whitecloud, Matt Gridden, and Devin Cooley all wearing them for the first time. So two more games at home here, and then they head on to the road. The Capitals, the Rangers, the Devils, the Islanders, and the Red Wings in succession. It's going to be a busy month. They got 16 games in the month of March, and it is also going to be a real slog for the Calgary Flames, who have the second hardest strength of schedule remaining based on winning percentage in the league.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a grim death march, I think, of a month for this team.
Remember the Chris Stewart year?
Yes. Ooh.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
The year where the Flames, God bless them, made Nick Shore and Chris Stewart their trade deadline acquisitions. They both scored one goal apiece the rest of the way, and they missed the playoffs. I think they won like 3 of their last 20 games. Yeah. And they didn't have a first-round pick that year.
Yeah, that was you're right. That was not a lot of fun. Whereas this year, plenty of future considerations, maybe more after this weekend. So there is sort of positive, the silver lining to be a fan of this particular death march.
You know, it was funny. I forget which radio station it was on, but Jason Demers, former NHL defenseman, was on a radio station out in Toronto earlier today. He was talking about how in the summer of 2017, he was approached by Florida. He had just signed in Florida a year before, and they were terrible. And he was approached by Florida to waive his no-trade clause. I think he had a full no-trade clause. To waive his no-trade clause for Calgary. And he said yes. He would have come from Florida to Calgary with 4 years left on his contract, which was not a terrible contract. It was an okay contract. He said yes. Calgary was okay with it. And then they went out and traded for Travis Hamonic instead. And then Vancouver tried to trade for him. I think he said they tried to trade Eric Goodbranson for him, send him back to Florida. And he looked at Vancouver and he said, these guys are no better than Florida is. So he didn't waive. And so to get him back, Florida traded him to Phoenix instead. But imagine it only took Jamie McGinn to get Jason Demers out of Florida from Phoenix. Yeah. It was a 1-for-1, Jason Demers for Jamie McGinn. And instead of trading for Jason Demers, the Flames moved a first and 2 seconds for Travis Hamonic to fill the same hole.
No, I know. Yeah.
Imagine what could have been. Imagine how things diverged out of that.
Yeah.
So
who was that first round pick? Who did that turn out?
Noah Dobson.
Right.
Yeah.
Not too good.
Yeah, not great. I don't remember who the seconds were, but it was ugly.
That's bad enough. Yeah,
it was real bad. So anyway, the Flames have 2 first-round picks this year as we move forward on the road ahead. So the death march will not be quite as unfulfilling as that was. I remember I was applying for universities that year. I was like getting ready for like a big change, and I was preparing for that, and I was not watching any Flames hockey because there was really no reason to watch. The Flames in 2018, they did not make a draft pick until the 4th round, and they missed the playoffs that year. Like it
That's
could
both
be
worlds.
It could be so much worse. They missed the playoffs by a mile. It was the next summer that they bridged Tkachuk. Yeah, we didn't even know how bad it was. But anyway. And then they traded Adam Fox that summer too. Whew.
Yeah, well, they were forced to do that, but still.
Yeah, well, anyway. So that's a look at your road ahead. It could always be worse. I mean, if you want to get a little bit more, let's maybe shift it around. I discussed this on the Warmies. We want to talk about the good that the Flames have done over the last 3 years, because they have done some good. They've made many more good trades than bad. Even the bad ones that they've made, you know, you can sort of still see a bit of a silver lining in some of them, like the Noah Hanifin trade. Well, the first round pick that they're going to get for that deal might be in the teens this year. That might actually be pretty good.
Yeah, Vegas kind of stinks right now.
Exactly. But here's what I wanted to ask you, Kent, is that the Flames under Craig Conroy, I think, have made they've made more than two, but they've made two deals midway through a season in which they have traded a pending UFA for legitimate multi-piece blockbuster type hauls. And they did it a couple of seasons ago, and they did it this year. And a couple seasons ago, they trade Elias Lindholm. They get a first-round pick. They get a fourth-round pick. They get Andrei Kuzmenko. They get Hunter Brstevich, and they get Yoni Yermo. And this year, they trade Rasmus Anderson. They get a first-round pick, a second-round pick, which could turn into another first-round pick. They get Zach Whitecloud, and they get Abram Weeb. And the more I've been looking at these two returns, the more similar they feel to me, just in their overall construction. They just feel like echoes of each other. It feels like Conroy saw the template he set the first time and was like, I want to get that return again. And it kind of feels like he did. Both times for premier position expiring assets from Sweden. And my question is, I mean, when the Anderson deal happened, a lot of people right away were like, underwhelming. At this point, though, as we sit here, a little over a month removed from that deal and a little over 2 years removed from the Lindholm deal, I mean, to me, it feels like the asset value from those two deals is almost identical.
Yeah, it's something that helps that is Weeby turning into quite the prospect.
A guy.
He got into the Flames. He's had quite the month.
Just named the NCHC Defenseman of the Month. That's right.
Yeah, but he had 2 or 3 Defenseman of the Weeks.
It contained therein.
That's right, in sequence there. So that's not too bad. I think it'll sort of depend on what happens with Zach Whitecloud, who I think
absolutely
probably a pretty good asset. I don't know if they're in any sort of rush to trade him, but he'll be an asset for a couple of years here. So does he get flipped for another first rounder or high end sort of draft pick or prospect in the next couple of years? That could be the sort of the determining factor there.
Well, here are the disparities, right? Because we have the first. Okay, that's pretty even. I mean, the first from the Vancouver deal, we know who it is. It's Matt Vigridden, pretty good pick. Vegas deal, we won't know for a little while yet, but it is a first-round pick. Second to fourth, well, that's clearly in favor of the Vegas deal. I mean, that's a better pick, no matter what. Brstevich versus Weeb. I mean, obviously, I think Brstevich is a stronger prospect, but Weeb certainly has some potential. We're not talking about sort of a Colton Poolman or a Renault Valiev here. He's got, a little bit more to his game. And then you compare the sort of the means to an end pieces. That's what I call them. The Kuzmenko versus Whitecloud, the pieces that were basically included to make the cap even. Well, I think there is so much more intrinsic value in Zach Whitecloud as a long-term NHL piece than Andrei Kuzmenko. Not to mention the fact that he just makes quite a bit less for a little bit longer and plays a premium position. So that to me, very strong. And I think, I mean, even in the chat, people are talking about how, well, what about the Zadorov trade? I mean, I grant you that it wasn't as good, 3rd and a 5th, although here we are. And the Zadorov trade probably got the Flames the very first pick in the 2025 or 2026 3rd round, essentially the equivalent of a late second, because Vancouver is dead last in the league. And that has nothing to do with the draft lottery. That particular pick has no bearing, or the lottery has no bearing on that particular pick. So if Vancouver falls down 2 spots, that pick remains the very first pick in the 3rd round. And with Ottawa forfeiting a pick, basically like the last pick in the 2nd round. So that does not make it feel
that's
a little
not too
bit
bad.
Better. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think you can feel a lot better with the way that things are playing out right now. I think you can absolutely have qualms with the way that certain things have unfolded. And the Flames roster right now is maybe as barren as it has looked in a long time. But there are reasons to be optimistic, I think. And Zadorov, God bless him. He's plus 19 this year. RB, I appreciate you pointing it out. I'm sure Tyler Toffoli's having a great year in San Jose. I'm sure Noah Hannafin just played at the Olympics. Do you really want these guys back?
No.
Like Rasmus Anderson.
I want fewer veterans on this team.
Rasmus Anderson may not re-sign with Vegas. Are you saying you want him back?
No.
No. Like Zadorov's making what, $6 million or $5 million for the next 5 years? Like that's the sort of contract that you want to dump, right? Like that's in any event.
He asked out. I mean, he wanted.
He doesn't want to play
I
here.
would have liked like a second round pick or something for him, but he didn't want to be here. And whatever. I just hope that more guys are liquidated in the next, as soon as possible. If not trade deadline, do it in the summer.
Get more picks. Get up to double digits this year. They got 8. Make it 10. Make it 11. We'll see what they can do. I don't know the exact plans for Friday yet. Excuse me, on our Barn Burner network. As I understand it, there may be a live thing going on over at the studio over in Marta. So we'll see. We'll see if we can dip into that a little bit. But in any event, stay tuned. There will be lots more to come on this channel. That is the Look at the Road Ahead, brought to you by Platinum Mitsubishi. It's a great spot. It is a very, very good spot. They don't pressure you. That's the thing that I like about Platinum. I've bought cars there before, and they just take care of you. They don't make you feel like you have to buy or have to rush into anything. They just make it a nice, easy process. And that's how they get a lot of repeat customers. It's sort of like how Derek Newman does it. You just sort of make it easy on the customer, and they'll just be super happy. And that's what Platinum does up at 2720 Barlow Trail, Northeast. Good comment here in the chat from Jason Montreal, 1981. If McCarron costs a second round, you'd have to think Coleman gets you a first plus. I mean, certainly don't disagree, especially if Calgary retains. And I mean, Coleman is just, he's 10 times the player Michael McCarron is.
Yeah, no question.
You know what I wonder about is, we're obviously going to have all of the network's coverage of the trade deadline on Friday. And the Unicorn would be an amazing spot to just hunker down. I don't know what the operating hours are going to be like on Friday. I don't know. We'll have to make some calls, see if we can get maybe a couple of televisions in there dedicated to Nation's coverage of the deadline, because they got 3 floors. I'm sure they can spend one of those floors on a couple of televisions to watch everything unfold. It's a great spot. It's truly a great spot. World Cup, going to be a hangout for the World Cup later this year. It is Calgary Super Pub at 223 8th Ave Southwest, 1919 4th Street Southwest. It's the Sports Cantina. They got 3 floors with all things sports: hockey, football, soccer, UFC, plus games like Golden Tee, Buck Hunter, pinball, and more. And with the way that everything is revolving around, with all the rumors banging around, it's got to feel like pinball in Nazem Kadri's head right now. People in the chat talking, is Kadri to the Avs more likely now? I don't know. Nobody seems to know if it's likely or not likely that Nazem Kadri goes back to Colorado. I bet he would love to go to Colorado, but we don't really know. I mean, it feels like the Dallas Stars are both in and out of it. We've heard rumors that they don't want to add anybody with term on their contracts. It's a tough one. It spoke volumes to me that in a column published a day or two ago, Eric Francis for Sportsnet was writing about, the likelihood that guys get traded. And the one player he mentioned all the Flames guys as, who might be traded. He mentioned one player as who might be a target for them. As a player, not as like a pick or a trade partner. The player that he mentioned was Connor Geekie out of Tampa Bay, 12th overall pick or 11th overall pick, I forget, by Arizona a couple of years ago. Was basically one of the main pieces in the Mikhail Sergachev trade, going to Tampa Bay. Has been excellent with the Syracuse Crunch this season in the American Hockey League. A big center who feels like a candidate to just play a lot of minutes as soon as he gets out of Tampa Bay, where he really isn't going to get that chance to play a whole lot with their depth down the middle. But it felt very interesting to me that of all the different, Eric could have said a number of guys out of Colorado or a number of guys out of Dallas. It struck me as very interesting that the one player he mentioned is a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
So you think that's speculation, or you think he's?
I don't think Eric would write that without. I don't think Eric would write that without a little inkling.
So that would be Coleman to Tampa Bay, you think?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure they would love to get him back, and the Flames have the means to retain money. I don't know how Tampa would make the cap work, but it feels. I mean,
Tampa's not shy about moving prospects and picks for guys they want to, and
they've made this deal before.
Yeah,
they've made the exact deal before. Like, I mean, Tampa's not in a spot to be giving up firsts, but they have Sam O'Reilly and Connor Geekie to me, who are guys who I would love the Flames to get. I have a piece out at Flames Nation today talking about Cole Reshny and how I think people undersell him as a future potential top 6 center, sort of in the same vein as a Seth Jarvis or even a Wyatt Johnston, who we saw tonight. A guy who just will pop as an offensive creator in the NHL and who already has the strength as a overall player who has the fundamentals down. And I think the thing with Reshny is he's not huge. He's 5'11". And the Flames also have Cullen Potter, who is very, very skilled, but not a huge center at all. They have Honzek, who they briefly toyed with the idea of playing as a center, but they seem to like more as a winger, and who will be a winger probably in the NHL, probably next season once he gets healthy. And I just think that it makes all sorts of sense for them to look at Connor Geekie as a big guy who you can play as a 2-3C. And if he develops the way that I think he can, I've been huge on him for years, is a really interesting piece who Tampa can afford to cash in on, but a lot of teams wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, that's true. And you're right. The center position, even outside of Reshny, is still kind of a sore spot in the organization. And they do, like, part of the issue with this draft coming up is the lack of really high-end centers, with the Flames probably being in that lottery top 5 pick thing. I don't know if they'll get that guy. And most years you probably get a premier center inside the top 5, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. So yeah, getting a Geekie would plug an organizational gap for sure.
Well, and here's a look at it. Right now, via Puckpedia, Tampa Bay has an estimated $2.2 million in deadline cap space. Coleman makes 4.9. You take half of that off, it goes down to 2.4. You make Connor Geekie in there. Geekie is currently on their NHL roster at 800,000. So it actually could work.
It works.
And to me, it is just fascinating. Like that to me is the number one. If they do that, I'll be like, whoa, I really, really like that.
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm really keen on seeing how that plays out, and as we've seen, I'm big on bloodlines. I'm big on, I think if a player, like when the Flames had the chance to draft Matthew Tkachuk, I was huge on it. I just thought this kid is going to be exactly like his dad, and he ended up being even better. And we've seen Morgan Geekie turn into a very, very good goal scorer as a member of the Boston Bruins, albeit with a lot of help from David Pastrnak. But Connor, as a junior, was regarded much better than his brother. Morgan was undrafted in his first year of eligibility. He was drafted by Carolina after his second year. So I don't know. I really like the idea, and here's hoping. So we shall see exactly.
Don't get your hopes up too much, though.
I won't. The thing with Connor Geekie is he's kind of like he's built very well. He's built extremely strongly. He's got a lot of power. He's got he's just got a lot of oomph, a lot of torque, a lot of horsepower in him. Sort of like a big old truck, Kent. And the thing that's kind of cool here is that, you know, I like my SUVs, I like smaller vehicles, but I'm also partial rather, not impartial. I'm partial to big trucks. I've always been a big truck guy. I don't know about you, Ken. What's your take on trucks?
I like trucks if I need to use a truck for something, but I don't drive a big truck around.
You're practical about trucks.
Right.
That's what I like. Well, here's the news. Ken. It's truck month. This is truck month. And that means it's your opportunity, I'm told, to get into a 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Crew Cab at 0% financing for 72 months. You're getting a 2-inch factory lift with off-road suspension, a powerful 5.3-liter V8 engine, and a commanding presence that demands attention. So hurry in to go see the Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Crew Cab in person and take advantage of Truck Month before it ends. Truck Month. It is Truck Month. Just remember
what month is it?
It's Truck Month. Oh. It's not March. It's not Smarch.
It's not smart. No,
the weather outside was pretty lousy today, but it's not smart. It is.
I'll take today's weather. And
it got so cold. It got so cold by the end of the day. Oh, it was real windy. But it's truck month. It's truck month. Like, come on. What are we talking about here? It's truck month.
Truck it up.
Yeah, I'm a big truck guy. Love our trucks. Hey, Kent, got to tell you something. We got some super chats to get through here.
Let's do them.
We really got some super chats to get through. Jack, why don't you throw one of them up on the screen? Just surprise me. William Holden, 7356, 499, 2011-12 Panthers with a house and middest of mid teams winning the Southeast Division. This is true. They did win the Southeast Division. I remember that. They made the playoffs that year for like the first time in forever, and they lost to New Jersey, I think, in the first round, and New Jersey ended up making it to the Cup final. I don't think they had Huberdeau yet, though, because Huberdeau, they had just drafted him, but he wasn't on the team yet. I think he was still in junior. I think he was still with St. John. He was, but still, they had some good players. They had Stephen Weiss. They had Brian Campbell. Let's have a look at the 2011-12 Panthers to see how they stack up. So here's okay. This isn't even close. So number one score, they only won 38 games and they won the Southeast Division, which is crazy. First of all, they had 18 loser points. That's insane.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. 2011-12 Florida Panthers top scorer Thomas Fleischman.
Ooh,
wow. 27-61 points. There's nobody on this Flames team even close to that. Number two, Stephen Weiss. He had 20 goals. Chris Versteeg was on that Panthers team. 23 goals and 54 points. I did not realize they took the Devils all the way to 7 games. Wow. Jason Garrison had 16 goals as a defenseman that year with the Florida Panthers. Jason Garrison. I think he had 49 goals in his career and he had 16 goals that year. Brian Campbell was on that team. Tomasz Kopecki was on that team. Michael Samuelson, Dmitry Kulikov, who is still on the Panthers. He went back.
Holy cow.
Marcel Gotch, Sean Mathias, Sean Bergenheim, Mike Weaver, Ed Jovanovski, Mike Santorelli, a young Eric Goodbranson, Marco Sturm,
very mid team.
Marco Sturm, Scotty Upshaw, John Madden at the very end. Holy smokes.
Yeah,
Jared Smithson. And their goalies that year, Jose Theodore. I had no recollection of Jose Theodore.
Boy, I don't remember that either. Yeah.
And Scott Clemenson with Jacob Markstrom playing in 7 games. Yeah. That's wow. That's a wild throw. That was a crazy year for South hockey because that was the same year that the Coyotes made it to the West Final. And they lost to the LA Kings, but that was the Kings. The Kings knocked off the 1, 2, and 3 seeds in the West. I think it was San Jose, Detroit, and Phoenix in order. And then they made the Cup final and they beat those New Jersey Devils. So thank you for the trip down memory lane. I appreciate that. Here we go. William Holden, will Huberdeau become Nick Backstrom with the hip, or does he return to 24-25 form, who was very solid and underrated? The Florida days are sadly gone. Nick Backstrom did have the same hip resurfacing surgery. And it didn't really, I mean, I think he's still maybe playing in Sweden, but I don't know. I really don't know.
I think it's 50-50 that he's done completely or comes back and is just a guy.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, to me, the most likely scenario is he sort of turns into what we see with Patrick Kane right now, but with less. I mean, the thing with Kane is in kind of a unique scenario where he is on a power play unit in Detroit that is very strong, and he basically just has to stand still. And so he plays in a very up-tempo environment in that specific situation. And at 5-on-5, he's awful.
Terrible. Yeah.
Awful. And so with Huberdeau, I mean, you could maybe look at it from a standpoint of, okay, well, you're not going to do that well on this power play. You don't have Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin to play with. And never the greatest 5-on-5 player to begin with. It's going to be real tough. I mean,
never the greatest skater either. So
no.
That
was always sort of
already
Kane's
bad
thing.
Stride, right?
Yeah, Kane was always very elusive, and
yeah,
Yeah, that's a tough one. So
He might be done.
Maybe. We'll see. Anything else, Jack? Has Cooley earned 10 games / 50-50 for the rest of the year? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't really care.
Nah, it doesn't matter.
But sure. I mean, play him however much you want. I really like Devin Cooley. He's great. He does his job very well. I think.
Seems like a good guy.
I think there will be maybe teams that are after him as well, but I don't think they're going to move him.
No.
Let's see what else we got. Is that it? Nope. Here we go. RB again. I want this team to have a solid 160 man in front of Wolf, like Burke spoke of years ago. Goodbranson, Zadorov, etc. are solid 3 to 6 guys who were undervalued. I think they're more like 6 to 6 guys. Like you don't want like
Branson's bad, man.
Yeah, Goodbranson had arguably the best season of his career in Calgary, playing for Daryl Sutter in a very specific system. That he was the one guy on that Flames defense roster who did not like to skate with the puck. Like that was Zadorov's favorite thing to do, was skate with the puck. And he was never good at it. He was better than
Goodbranson.
Better than Goodbranson at it. Shillington,
Kevin Ball is that guy if you're looking for that guy on the Flames.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. No, RB, we're not being short-sighted to think those types of D-man are important. It's just that there are variances within that type. Kevin Ball is an example of a good kind of that defenseman. Right. Like Goodbranson at this point, or even Zadorov. Like Zadorov is better. Zadorov's closer to Ball than he is to Goodbranson. But again, like the Flames will have opportunities to get these guys in the future. There's really no reason for them to covet those types of guys right now. Those are the guys who you get to supplement a core, not to build a core around. So that's just my 2 cents. Anything else, Jacko? Mike, why was Nas trying to fight next week's teammate? Which one? He was kind of ornery tonight, but
Bishop.
Yeah, that's typical Nas. I think that's it. I think that's all of our super chats. Hey, Jack?
That is all, boys.
Attaboy. Thank you. Let's have a look at our lineup of games for tomorrow, courtesy of Bet365, where it is truly never ordinary. Download the app and get in on the game. Use that code NATION. I think there's like half dozen games tomorrow in the National Hockey League. We'll have a look here at the betting lines. Can't really see the bottom ones, but that's okay. Toronto and New Jersey going head to head. That'll be an interesting one. New Jersey's actually playing a little bit better of late. Vegas,
Toronto
second half of
Leafs
back to back. Yeah, well, Vegas is, the Leafs are horrible. Vegas, second half of back to back. Vegas, I mean, falling off a little bit. They've lost 3 straight coming out of the All-Star break.
That's good news for us.
Yeah, very much so. Holy smokes! Talk about a mismatch. Carolina, Vancouver. I mean,
is like this iteration of the Vancouver Canucks. How far back do we have to go to see a team this bad? Is it?
It's those Avs from 10 years ago. It's like it's awful. I tweeted out last night. I said, what did I say? I said the Canucks are hideously bad. Probably the worst team we've seen in the last decade. And yet when it comes down to it, they'll have a 56.3% chance of missing out on both Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg at the draft.
They can thank the Edmonton Oilers for that.
They can thank the Edmonton Oilers for that. They are horrible. Like those are some really lopsided lines. Carolina at -290. Like Jesus. I think I saw some. I might have been like Polymarket or something that tweeted out that somebody, when the Canucks were playing last night against Dallas, it was tied at 1 after 1. And somebody put like $230,000 on the Canucks winning that game, and they lost. And they lost 5-1.
Oof! Yuck.
So anyway, don't bet with them. Bet with Bet365. Like genuinely insane. Islanders and Ducks. That one's even money. -110 on both sides. And then the Blues and Kraken. This is one that's kind of interesting. Flames will be hoping for the Blues to win. They're at +120. I actually kind of like that line for the Blues against the Kraken, who are still a very weird team to me.
They're not anything.
Really know.
It's
they really aren't.
Yeah, just kind of there.
Did you hear that the Kraken apparently offered Panarin $15 million a year?
Well, they're so desperate for any sort of star power out there. It doesn't surprise me.
I just don't understand the mindset of anything that the Kraken do. But yeah, it's like the Kraken to me are, if the Flames were continuing on full steam ahead with like trying to make the playoffs this year.
And if they'd kept like Noah Hannafin,
yeah, if they kept those guys, and if they'd like not only kept them, but like went out and made a bunch of signings on top of them.
But none of them that good. Just
none of them that good. Yeah, like if they were like, Huberdeau isn't doing it for us, we need to get another guy to play with him. We need to go out like the year after and spend $10 million more
on Chandler Stevenson for some reason.
Yeah, it's just a bizarre cap sheet. I don't understand. But hey, Lord be with you. So, that's pretty much it. We went an hour tonight. I wasn't expecting that. But
lots of Weegar talk.
Lots of Weegar talk. I mean, Arby, God bless you. We appreciate the contributions. Suddenly getting very proselytizing on this show, but in any event, it's late at night. It's Tuesday night, folks. We appreciate you tuning in. We really do. Kent, any additional thoughts as we get tuned up for the deadline? We'll be seeing you next in the first post game after the deadline.
That's right. Yeah, my thoughts are just lean back and enjoy the slide down the slope here. It's going to be
couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Mike Gould with Kent Wilson to my right, I suppose. On this Tuesday night, the Calgary Flames lose 6-1 to the Dallas Stars. They are now in 29th in the NHL standings, and they will continue to fall as we move forward here. One more game until the trade deadline on Friday. Until then, thank you to Bet365. The Youth Centers of Calgary, lots of Youth Centers of Calgary contributions tonight. Derek Newman Group, of course, Platinum Mitsubishi, the Unicorn, both on 4th Street Southwest and 8th Avenue Southwest. And of course, it's Truck Month at GMC. Thanks so much. You've been watching this edition of The Afterburner.